John Dodson versus Merab Dvalishvili takes place this weekend on the main card of UFC 252, Miocic versus Cormier 3, and what better place to have a bantamweight matchup right now than on the main card of the UFC 252 pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view card for a big bantamweight division right now with a lot of things going on, including on the same card with Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. I can't wait for John Dodson versus Merab Dvalishvili. John Dodson, veteran of the game, only lost to the best in the game as well, recently snapped his losing streak to Piotr Yan and Jimmy Rivera against Nathaniel Wood, a young, hungry up-and-comer that looked unstoppable in the UFC, so much so I predicted him to beat John Dodson, which was looking like it was going to happen, to be fair to me. He was beating John Dodson. John Dodson came back in the third round, showed that he still got it, showed that he was in the fight before then as well, because it could have been 1-1. That was a close fight between him and Nathaniel Wood. Not too much happened. I thought Nathaniel Wood was edging out some moments, but John Dodson shut up all of that hype in the third round with a TKO finish, got the job done. Now he's looking to take on the next up-and-comer in Merab Dvalishvili, an absolute savage from Georgia. Not the state of Georgia, the country of Georgia. Savage guy, wrestling heavy guy. In my opinion, could have actually won all of his UFC fights so far. I know he's only on a 4-fight win streak right now, but his 2 losses in the UFC were to Ricky Simón, which was very controversial. He was winning the majority of the fight. He was going to be winning that fight. He wasn't winning the entire fight, but he was winning the fight very convincingly. Ricky Simón ended up getting a guillotine in the final few seconds, in my opinion, and a lot of experts' opinion at the time. It actually looked like Merab Dvalishvili did go out cold, but there was a lot of controversy still. That could have been given to Merab if the referee stepped in time. Ricky Simón held the choke an extra second too long in some moments as well. But in all honesty, in alternate universes, especially with the loss to Frankie Saenz as well, which arguably should have gone to Merab Dvalishvili, he could be 6-0 undefeated right now on a 12-fight win streak in some alternate universe where that weird moment at the end of the Ricky Simón fight doesn't happen and the judges are correct in his fight against Frankie Saenz. He's on a 12-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC, 6-0 against good names in Terrion Ware, not a good name, shouldn't have started with that one whatsoever, but Brad Katona was being looked at as the next big thing in the bantamweight division. Casey Kenny beat him convincingly as well. Gustavo Lopez is not a good name, but took it on short notice and showed that he's up to the task to take on these short notice fights, which is again what the John Dodson fight is at UFC 252 this weekend. I can't wait for this matchup. John Dodson is a savage. I think John Dodson's going to win this fight against Merab Dvalishvili only because, although I see how dominant Merab Dvalishvili is, I have seen certain guys with wrestling pedigrees, and even though Frankie Saenz is not a savage, Frankie Saenz is not a savage, okay? I'm very rare to admit that. He understands somewhat takedown defense. He got taken down a bunch of times against John Dodson, against Merab Dvalishvili. Everyone gets taken down a bunch of times against Merab Dvalishvili, but however, all of them get back up. It's very rare that Merab Dvalishvili gets someone down, controls them on the ground. They always seem to get back up, and I feel like if you're giving John Dodson that many chances to get back up and that much time on the feet, because although Merab Dvalishvili is a great grappler, his ground control skills are not the best in the world. I've been watching some of Merab Dvalishvili's fights, even against Gustavo Lopez. Merab was supposed to be fighting on that card. We don't know against who, but Gustavo Lopez stepped in on short notice, a guy who probably shouldn't even have been in the UFC in the first place, against a guy who was recently on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, and Gustavo Lopez kept getting up after the takedowns. I think if Gustavo Lopez can do that, John Dodson can do it twice as good, can stuff twice as many takedowns as well, and maybe not even get taken down in the first place, and also have the dangerousness on the feet with the KO ability to finish Merab Dvalishvili, because I'll tell you this as well. In that Gustavo Lopez fight, although Merab did not get outclassed on the feet, there's something in my mouth. Although Merab did not get outclassed on the feet, he didn't look good in that fight on the feet whatsoever. There were many openings, so I think a guy like John Dodson is going to look at and think, oh my god, I'm going to take advantage of a lot of these situations. If you can take advantage of the defenses of Nathaniel Wood, which are usually very technical on the feet, Nathaniel Wood is a lot better on the feet than Merab Dvalishvili, I'm sure we can all agree. Merab's a little bit more wild, throws some crazy hooks, majority of the time they're just to make you think so he can go for the takedown afterwards. I think if John Dodson can stuff those takedowns, which I believe he can, because you're looking at a guy in John Dodson, came to Greg Jackson's gym straight away, got scouted out of high school to the Greg Jackson gym, Jackson Wink MMA, trained extremely hard ever since the get-go, faced the #1 flyweight in Japan at the time. Let me find the guy's name right now. Faced the #1 ranked flyweight in the world in his debut, Yasuhiro Urashitani, because of how credentialed he was as a flyweight. There weren't a lot of flyweights back in the day, so if you had a two-time state champion wrestler like John Dodson out of high school, you were looking at a guy and thinking, right, we've got to chuck him right in at the deep end because there's not a lot of flyweights, and John Dodson was one of the best at the time, won the Ultimate Fighter against TJ Dillashaw at the bantamweight division, has been shifting to and from those divisions, recently found a home at bantamweight though. He did spend some time at flyweight as well, lost his fights to Demetrius Johnson, but that's Demetrius Johnson, there's no harm there. But listen, I don't think Merab Dvalishvili, listen, Demetrius Johnson had a close fight with John Dodson. He did not completely smush him on the ground. John Dodson has wicked good takedown defense. In the third round against Piotr Yan really started doing good with the takedowns. I don't consider the 11-4 Merab Dvalishvili on the same level as I do those other guys that John Dodson has lost to. I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. A lot of people seem to be saying that John Dodson always wins one and loses one, wins one and loses one. Don't pick him. I say that's a very terrible reason why to pick a fight, and also I tell them he's coming off a 2-fight losing streak and he's just won one of them, so even that doesn't make any sense. I think John Dodson is going to go out there and beat Merab Dvalishvili. I think he's going to stuff the takedowns, get him out of there. He's a smaller guy as well, which usually, in terms of takedown defense, is very favourable to have that lower centre of gravity. You naturally have a better opportunity at getting underhooks against a guy as well. In terms of controlling someone on the ground, being smaller is a lot more easy to control on the ground for an opponent. Like, if you want to control someone on the ground and you're just naturally longer than them, you can spread your weight out on top. But being longer in the clinch and defending takedowns in the first place is very difficult. It makes it very... How do I word this? Give me a second here, because I've had this theory for such a long time, but I've never been able to word it. Taller opponents do better at stuffing takedowns, but do worse once they're on the ground. No, stop! Everyone stop talking. I don't know what my point is, but John Dodson is going to win this fight. This is my point. John Dodson is the shorter man. He's naturally going to have underhooks against a guy like Merab Dvalishvili, who's going to have to use a lot more leverage to get a guy like John Dodson down. That makes so much sense, right? The taller guy... I don't know what I'm saying, man. I really don't fucking know what I'm saying right now. What the fuck? I'm sweating. I'm losing my fucking mind. John Dodson's gonna... I'm wearing a beanie! What am I doing right now, man? I don't even fucking know anymore. What was I saying? I'm literally sweating buckets right now. I know you can't see it in the video because the lighting's on. Fucking hell, I'm leaving a fucking moat of just Pepsi coming out of my skin pores all over the table right now. What was my original point with the takedown defense? Shorter opponents are harder to get down, but easier to keep down. If a taller guy fights a shorter fighter, they're harder to get down, but they're easier to keep down. Do you understand me? Merab Dvalishvili is a guy who's not too good at keeping guys down anyway. He prides himself on just taking them down in the first place. He's not going to be able to do that against a guy in John Dodson who's got great wrestling credentials, who got scouted to Jackson Wink MMA and took on the #1 ranked flyweight in the world at the time in his professional debut because of those wrestling credentials and what they saw of him in the gym. John Dodson's going to win this fight. He's going to crack Merab Dvalishvili on the feet in the third round. Merab is going to be doing good for the first 2 rounds. I reckon he's probably going to get the better of John Dodson, winning the first 2 rounds. In the third round, Merab does seem to slow down somewhat. He can't quite keep the same pace as normal, to be honest with you, because even though you're taking that guy down, getting back up, you know, it happens over and over again in Merab Dvalishvili's fights. I don't know why I'm closing my eyes right now, but it seems to be working in terms of how I'm getting my words out here. John Dodson is going to be more successful at defending takedowns than Gustavo Lopez was. And if he can do that, which I know he can, he's going to have an opportunity at the start of each round to land on Merab's chin, because what Merab does at the start of every round is wings big haymakers and then looks for the takedown right afterwards. I think he's going to come out in the third round, look for those big haymakers, but you can't do that with a guy with the footwork of John Dodson, the speed of John Dodson. For example, John Dodson is a terrible matchup for Merab Dvalishvili. I'm not saying that oh my god, it's so bright now, I've opened my eyes again. I'm dying. Merab Dvalishvili would do very well against Rob Font. Ricky Simón was doing good in the grappling against Rob Font. In fact, lost that fight by split decision, but was winning the grappling situations in that fight. Rob Font had great takedown defense, but I think Merab Dvalishvili would be a really good opponent to take on Rob Font. I think he would beat Rob Font, but John Dodson is a completely different matchup. He's a shorter guy. He's a great wrestler. He's a strong, sturdy man with KO power at bantamweight. I feel as though he's going to catch Merab Dvalishvili on the chin. He's got better striking. In my opinion, he's got better grappling as well, because Merab Dvalishvili, although good, who have we seen improved against? Like, Merab Dvalishvili's beaten a lot of good guys so far. He's just not done it dominantly enough for me to say that he's going to go out and do it as dominantly against John Dodson. And if you don't completely dominate John Dodson, he's going to have some chances for success. And I think if you give him those chances, he's going to land straight on your chin. He's going to KO you. I reckon Merab Dvalishvili gets KO'd in the third round by John Dodson, getting it done. If Merab Dvalishvili does win this fight, it's big. It's a huge deal, because you know exactly who he's going to call out. Sean O'Malley if he beats Marlon Vera on that same card. And if Merab versus Sean O'Malley happens, that's a real good matchup for Merab Dvalishvili and a real bad matchup for Sean O'Malley as well. But still, I think Merab Dvalishvili is still a learning fighter, even though he's in his prime right now, 29 years of age. He's very new to the game of MMA compared to a guy like John Dodson. He's learning on the go right now. He's still showing some mistakes. I feel like this is going to be a very necessary loss, because I'll tell you this, and I haven't said this yet this video, but I said it in my full card predictions. Even though I disagree with the decision in him versus Frankie Saenz, I disagree that Frankie Saenz won that fight. I thought Merab Dvalishvili won. It was still close enough to be a close decision. You know? It really was. Like, although I thought Merab Dvalishvili should have won, it was a really close fight. Frankie Saenz was doing okay in certain moments of that fight. So was Ricky Simón. So was Brad Katona wasn't. He got completely dominated, but he was trash. But moving on. Casey Kenny was doing okay at some moments. Gustavo Lopez, although getting taken down so many times, got up so many times. I think if you're giving John Dodson that much time to get up, to escape, to have it on the feet, I think John Dodson's going to crack him straight on the chin. He knows why he's taking this fight. There's no way he would take this fight at all if he knew he wasn't going to win this one. So I believe in him. I know if I was in John Dodson's position and I saw a guy like Merab Dvalishvili coming up the rankings, I would not take that fight, especially if you're John Dodson coming off a win right now. You have somewhat of a negotiating power. John Dodson could easily call out Rob Font, another ranked opponent, and earn more of a reward for beating him. But he's taken on an up-and-comer in Merab Dvalishvili, because I believe him and Jackson Wink know they can beat him. John Dodson's going to get the job done. Better wrestling, especially defensively. It's a lot harder to get a takedown than defend one. We've seen that in MMA. Otherwise, Israel Adesanya would not be defending takedowns against Derek Brunson. That's for damn sure. John Dodson's going to get it done. Land on the chin on Merab in the third round. I like Merab. I just feel like this is a little bit too much too soon. Not even too much too soon. I kind of take that bit back. It's just not the right guy to be facing right now in your career. I feel like if Merab was to take on anyone else in that top 10 to 15 range, he would have a real good chance. John Dodson is just a fucking spanner in the works. And you have to be one of the elite to beat him. And even the elites in Piotr Yan still get cracked and dropped to the floor. I think John Dodson's going to win. No, I do. Sorry, I thought I said Merab. I'm going crazy right now. I'm losing so much water. John Dodson's going to win, though. Jesus Christ. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This beanie might have to come off at 9k, because I can't do this in the heat wave right now, man. I'm losing fucking brain cells. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. Good. Bye. John Dodson by third round TKO.